Hello, welcome back to the We Are City channel, and today we're talking about breaking news that came out not long since we finished our live. We did a live coverage of the Manchester City versus Birmingham game. City managed to come up with a 3-0 win over Birmingham in the FA Cup, so they through to the next round. And just before that game, some breaking news came out. We did speak about it slightly on the live, but we are going to speak about it today. I thought we'd do a separate video for it because it's such big news, and it's important news, isn't it, for Manchester City? During the game against Birmingham, we thought that Sergio Aguero would be playing. Sergio Aguero ruled out of that game for whatever reason, apparently due to COVID. He'd been in contact with someone who had COVID, but this continues to ask questions of Sergio Aguero, doesn't it? Is he ever going to come back from this knee injury? Because the looks of it, he's not going to come back from this knee injury, and City need to find the perfect replacement. Anyway, this morning, this new news comes out about Erling Haaland. City long linked with Erling Haaland. And, I mean, at the moment, he's overtaken Kylian Mbappe, hasn't he? As probably one of the best young players in the world, Erling Haaland. And his record speaks for itself. We'll go through his record in just a short while, but we'll read out the tweet that's there on the left-hand side. It says, this is on our Twitter account. We put the news out all the time, and we support it in 5 languages. If you did miss the news, then it's probably because you're not following our Twitter. So head over to We Are City MCFC, follow our Twitter, and you will know what the news is before we talk about it. We tweet it out first, then we tend to do lives about it. So Manchester City are in the market for a new striker this summer, as we all expected and as we all think that City do need. And Guardiola is a big fan of Erling Haaland, who's 20. The club believes a 15% sell-on clause in Jadon Sancho's contract could work in their favour. So, of course, as we know, Jadon Sancho nearly moved to Manchester United this summer. If he had moved, City did put in the contract when they sold Sancho to Dortmund a 15% sell-on clause. So, for example, if City were to buy Jadon Sancho for 100 million, there'd be 15% knocked off that. The same as if Manchester United were to buy Jadon Sancho, City would get 15% of the fee. Now, City believe, apparently, this is according to Martin Blackburn at The Sun. Now, Martin Blackburn is actually a pretty reliable journalist at The Sun. He's been close to City for a long time. And I know The Sun aren't really a reliable newspaper for news, but Martin Blackburn, if he's talking about it, you tend to be able to trust him. And he's saying that the City could do this. They can believe they can do this. They could agree to remove this from Sancho's contract, or to renegotiate the 15%, maybe down to 5%. I don't know, whatever, in order to gain advantage into bringing Erling Haaland to the club. So the big one is Erling Haaland. Well, would he want to join Manchester City? That's the first question. Because before you sign a player, you've got to actually find the player themselves if they want to join the club. For example, Lionel Messi. Maybe City have the financial power to sign Lionel Messi, but it's whether Messi wants to join the club himself. Does he want to stay at Barcelona? Well, does Erling Haaland want to join Manchester City? That's a big question. Does Haaland want to join Manchester City? I'd say he would join Manchester City. There's many things that are pulling power towards City. I mean, of course, the wages are quite nice, aren't they? And but I don't think that's something that would bother Erling Haaland. He'd get the wages he'd get at City at any top club if he was to move. But Haaland's a City fan, isn't he? Everyone's seen the picture of the around 13, 14-year-old Erling Haaland in the City kit. And his dad played for City. His dad still likes City. The fans have always, been really affectionate towards Erling Haaland, haven't they? And I'm sure they will be to Erling Haaland as well. I mean, what a signing it would be if they signed him. So I do think he would want to join City. There's a couple of stumbling blocks that City would find in this deal. Because I don't think they have a problem with bringing in Haaland through him himself. Does Haaland want to join City? Yeah, I do think he would join City. He's a City fan. He was born in Leeds, in fact. His dad played for Leeds as well. There's no problem with Haaland trying to join City. It's more City have got to negotiate with Dortmund, who are notoriously really difficult to negotiate with. Borussia Dortmund. I know City have negotiated with them before, managed to pick up Ilkay Gundogan, who's playing really well at the moment, for around 21 million, which obviously a bargain at the time for Ilkay Gundogan. But Erling Haaland, we spoke about in the live stream slightly. He's got a 70 million euro release clause, and then about 20 million extra has to go to his agent, which is something we'll get onto soon in his agent. And that'd be about 90 million for Haaland, 20 million to his agent, 70 million to Dortmund. And that doesn't come until next summer. So you can't sign Haaland for the 70 million this summer. It'd be next summer. And City are looking for a striker this summer. And I cannot see Dortmund letting Haaland go for that 70 million this summer or next summer. I assume that if he doesn't go this summer, he will sign a new contract and they'll increase that release clause that's been put in by him, his family, and his agent. And surely City are having conversations with his father at the moment about potentially bringing Haaland to the club. I mean, if you think about it, the biggest stumbling block with Haaland, if they can agree a fee with Dortmund, which I think would be upwards of, if they wanted 120 million for Jadon Sancho, we're talking upwards of 130 million for Erling Haaland. And City are yet to make a signing over 67 million. Their record signing, of course, is Rodri at 67 million pounds. So a big question is, will City pay that money for Erling Haaland? Well, the first one is Erling Haaland worth that money? Yes, Erling Haaland is worth 130 million. Would City pay 130 million for a player? No, I don't think they would. Would City pay over 100 million for a player? No, I don't think they would. And the main one is his agent. Erling Haaland's agent is Mino Raiola, and if you know who Mino Raiola is, Manchester United fans will know him well. He's the agent of Pogba, and he loves to talk about how his players want to leave the club. So I can't see City dealing with Mino Raiola. Mino Raiola has a history with the City board. He has a history with Pep Guardiola. He historically called Pep Guardiola dog. And Guardiola once went off in a press conference and said, why would I want to deal with Mino Raiola? He called me a dog. And he's also, Pep Guardiola said that Mino Raiola offered him Pogba and Mkhitaryan, but he wouldn't deal with Raiola. Now, this Haaland news, to me, seems very, very similar to the news around 2 summers ago of City linked with Matthijs de Ligt. And City were very interested in Matthijs de Ligt, the captain for Ajax. Was he 18 years old? He was captain Ajax. He was scoring in the Champions League. He was playing in Champions League semi-finals. He's probably, I know his career's took a bit of a dip, but he has some injuries for Juventus. But he's probably like the best young centre-back out there. I don't think anyone expected anyone at 18 could be that good. And City needed a centre-back. They needed a potential company replacement. And it was all about, the news, Guardiola loves de Ligt. City are going to go for de Ligt. Guardiola loves de Ligt, and it was on. And it cost 70, 80 million, I think. That's what he went to Juventus for. But who's de Ligt's agent? It's Mino Raiola. And City never made contact with de Ligt, mainly because of Mino Raiola. They wouldn't deal with Mino Raiola. And the problem with City at the moment is, I cannot see them signing Haaland purely because his agent is Mino Raiola. Haaland would have to leave his agent, and I can't see him doing it. More negatives. We'll talk about a few negatives before we talk about the positives for Haaland, because there's plenty of positives. Another negative in Haaland is the fact that, to me, Haaland is, obviously, there's no one better to replace Sergio Aguero. No one better to replace Sergio Aguero. Mohammed in the chat says hi. Also, Alex in the chat says, Que jogador es Haaland. So he says, what a player Haaland is. And you're right, Alex. What a player he is. Que jogador. With Haaland, the fact that, you know, if you sign him, to me, he's a bit like the new Ibrahimovic. He's a new Ibrahimovic, and historically, Ibrahimovic didn't play very well, did he, in Guardiola's side? Everyone knows that Guardiola and Ibrahimovic didn't get on. The big man didn't work up front, although Lewandowski did it by Munich. So I personally think a Haaland would fit into Pep Guardiola's side. I think he'd score 50 goals a season in Pep Guardiola's side. I've no doubt about that with Erling Haaland. We'll look into his stats shortly. He's absolutely incredible. But to me, Erling Haaland, City want someone to replace Aguero who's going to do exactly for City what Aguero has done for City. Yes, score goals, but be at the club for 10 years and be loyal to the club and just score. I mean, the news report actually says that City and Guardiola believe that Haaland could be at City for the next 10 years scoring goals for the club. Agreed, Haaland could be at the club for the next 10 years, but he's not. He's not going to be, is he? I think the maximum we see Haaland at City, if he does sign, is maybe 5 years, and there's not going to be any more than 5 years at City for Erling Haaland. 5 years at City, and then he's going to move on. He's going to do what Ibrahimovic did. He's going to go from, I mean, Ibrahimovic was at AC Milan, Juventus, all these players at places, Manchester United, he played in the Premier League, the Bundesliga, the Serie A, the French League. Do you know what I mean? That's what Haaland's career is going to be. And the thing is, you're going to get Haaland for, 3 years? 3 very good years out of him. And then at year 3, if his agent is still Raiola, he's going to come out running his mouth about Haaland wanting to leave. And by the 5th year, you're going to have a Paul Pogba situation at Manchester United. And eventually, Erling Haaland will leave the club. So he's not a long-term solution to me, Erling Haaland. He's 20 years old now. He's only going to be 25 in 5 years' time if he does 5 years at the club. Do you really think he's going to do another 5 years? Or he's going to move to a Barcelona, a Real Madrid? I think he will. You know, Juventus. That's the sort of career Erling Haaland's going to have. And he's going to score goals wherever he goes. But that's the negatives. And personally, in my honest opinion, I do not think we're going to see Erling Haaland join Manchester City anytime soon. And I think City are going to really struggle to replace Sergio Aguero because of the sort of policy that the board follows. We don't want to spend money, do we? We don't want to spend over 60, 70 million on a player. Erling Haaland's going to cost upwards of 130 million. Plus, it's going to be about another 20 million to his agent. I can't see it happening. Plus, like we said, I don't think he's a long-term solution. Then you're looking at someone like, well, who's the closest stylistically to Sergio Aguero? Well, what about Lautaro Martinez at Inter Milan? Well, Inter Milan would only accept his 110 million release clause last summer. So chances are they're not going to sell him for less than 110 million. And City won't pay that for a striker. So that's Martinez crossed off the list. So that's two of the top players to replace Aguero gone. Then you could say Kylian Mbappe. City and PSG will never, ever work together on a transfer deal due to the owners, Saudis, Qatar. These two clubs will never deal. So never think City will ever sign a player from PSG, and never think a PSG will sign a player from Manchester City. Those three. So that's Mbappe off the list. Neymar, you could say, replace Aguero. I doubt it. That's them off the list. Who have you got next on your list? Well, City are then looking at strikers that are a little bit lower down the chain, to replace him. And you're thinking maybe Darwin Núñez, who was amazing at Almeria. If you watched Almeria in the Segunda Division, La Liga, he was amazing, Darwin Núñez. Scored goals, and you could see there's some aiming. To me, he's very similar to Edison Cavani. You're looking at him and you're thinking, you know what? Maybe a big side should take a risk on him. Benfica have, and they've got a 100 million release clause in his contract. So he's another one that City, I cannot see paying that sort of money for him. And they'll want that sort of money. And it's going to be very hard for City to pick up a striker. I think if City are going to pick up a striker, personally, I think the likes of Patson Daka at Salzburg, I think Alexander Isak at Real Sociedad, they're the sort of strikers that City are going to be attracting, unfortunately. I don't think they're going to be able to pull off a big deal like an Erling Haaland. But if we have a look at Holland stats, I've got them in front of me here. I'm not going to pull them up, but it's just something to look at because he is incredible. Erling Haaland signed for Borussia Dortmund last season in January. From then, he played 15 games in the Bundesliga for Borussia Dortmund, and he scored 13 goals and 2 assists. So 15 goal involvements in 15 games. That is, wow. In his first games, his first 6 months in the Bundesliga, he absolutely tore the Bundesliga up. Now, this season in the Bundesliga, he's played 10 games so far in the Bundesliga at the halfway point in the season. He's scored 12 goals and got 2 assists. So he's getting more goals than games he's playing. There is literally no one better. I mean, if City signed Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne feeding Haaland with his crosses, it's over for the Premier League. The club, every Premier League club now, if they actually think there's any truth in this report that Haaland's going to City, Premier League clubs need to get on it quickly and to try and stop City sign Haaland. Because if they sign him, it is absolutely over. You know what I mean? This man is just a goal machine. And in the Champions League this season, he's played 4 games and scored 6 goals. Who better to launch City to a Champions League winning team than having a player up front like Haaland? Because City's problem at the moment, I mean, different today against Birmingham, but they were playing Birmingham. They did finish their chances. But if you think about City's problem, it's finishing the chances. They've sorted the defence finally with a colossus signing of Ruben Dias, who solved the defence. The midfield maybe needs a few tweaks here and there, maybe a more mobile midfielder. But forward-wise, City needs someone. When there's no Aguero, they have no one to finish the chances. Jesus had 2 really good chances today against Birmingham, and he fluffed them both. And City needs someone who's just going to be in front of goal and just finish everything. Just no problems, finishes everything. And that is what Erling Haaland is. And if City bring in Erling Haaland, I think there's no stopping us. This could be the greatest signing the club has ever made in the form of projecting the club forward to where it could go. If they made a signing from like Erling Haaland, it's just going to be incredible. He's that good. He really is that good. He just scores goals for fun. I mean, he only played 2 Champions League games for Dortmund last season, and he scored 2 goals. So he pretty much scores in every game he plays. And I know the current record for goals in the Premier League is 32. I think it is 33, set by Mohamed Salah. It wouldn't surprise me if Haaland came in and he broke the record. He scored 39 goals or 38 goals in a 38-goal season. He is that good. So City have been linked with him. I can understand the interest in him. I quite like this idea of City believing they can get this percentage sell-on clause in Jadon Sancho's contract and change it in order to bring money off Haaland. I mean, if they did take 15%, if Dortmund were to sell Sancho and City were to be able to say, right, well, that 15% sell-on clause, we will take that away so you keep that money. That money that City save and which Dortmund save in paying to us will probably end up being paid to Erling Haaland's agent, Mino Raiola. So that's an issue. City are really going to struggle, I think, with this deal. It's a big deal. It's probably the biggest deal the club has ever done if they were to bring in the best young player in the world, in my opinion. He's better than Mbappe. To me, it's Mbappe, Haaland and João Felix. these are the three superstars. And City bottled the João Felix deal, didn't they, really? When I was saying about I just can't see City pulling this transfer off, City bottled that deal for João Felix. 105 million, it's a release clause, you paid it, you got João Felix, and you got probably one of the best young players in the world, and City bottled it, didn't they? And that's why I think, because I think João Felix wanted to join City. I think if City had really pushed for him, they could have got him, and what a player would have been for this team. But I just can't see City doing it. They don't seem to make the big deals happen anymore, do they, City? They prefer to pay a release clause. They prefer to negotiate with someone not as good, but someone they can try and make as good. But the problem is with Erling Haaland, you're never going to make any player as good as Erling Haaland. There's just none out there. There's none out there. And you've got to sign a superstar to replace Aguero. They made the mistake in not replacing Vincent Kompany early enough. They need to replace Fernandinho. I mean, looking ahead to the new transfer window coming up in the summer, I mean, what kind of deals could City be doing? They need to replace Fernandinho if he goes. That's maybe 30 million on the Douglas Luiz buyback. Then maybe 130 million on Holland and City. Then a left back. And I think those three transfers will probably do City's transfer window, and probably the best transfer window we've ever had. So hi in the comment section. Hi to Kun Amar, he's in Malaysia. Hi to him. And Lowe says he should sack his agent. Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't mind Erling Haaland sacking his agent, would we? But I just can't see him doing it. Haaland's going to take the same approach as Ibrahimovic. Even his personality is similar to Ibrahimovic, isn't it, Erling Haaland? And I think he's going to have a very similar career to Ibrahimovic, where he leaves the club, stays 3 years at a club, 5 years at a club, and moves on. And that's the problem with City. Unless Haaland leaves Mino Raiola, City won't be dealing with him. And this news that came out earlier today is just, to me, news that is just too good to be true. We're not going to be seeing Erling Haaland join Manchester City, in my opinion. I'd love it to happen, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. So let us know in the comment section right now. We will leave the comments on this video. Let us know what you think about the sign of Erling Haaland. Do you think City should do it? But more importantly, do you think it'll actually happen? Because a lot of time, you want a certain transfer to happen, but it's not necessarily going to happen, is it? Like João Felix or Lionel Messi. We all want Lionel Messi to happen. And there's that slight bit of hope that Lionel Messi will move to Manchester City, but we're not so sure. And Lowe, you're from South Africa. I didn't know that. That's good to see. Good to see that we have lots of worldwide fans. Like we said, this is the We Are City channel. It's by the worldwide fans for the worldwide fans. So fans from all over the world, from Malaysia, South Africa. That is really good to see. And please continue to support the channel. Get your friends in on it. Get them to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the month. I mean, 1,000 subscribers is in the distance at the moment. But if we can reach 1,000, in the long run, by maybe halfway through the year, that would be amazing. It mean a lot to us. So thank you very much for tuning into this little transfer update on Erling Haaland. We'd all want to see Erling Haaland in the Premier League, like you said, Lowe. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you very much for watching. Erling Haaland to Manchester City. Let us know in the comments. Will it happen? Will it not happen? Do you want it to happen? Will he break the records in the Premier League? That's going to be it from today's video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.